Reason the Lions didn't get in with their victory last night was because the Seahawks somehow managed to hold off the Rams.
In the 2023 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Devin Witherspoon.
What's going on, everybody? We're back for week number 2 against the Seahawks at home in Ford Field. Super pumped after a nice long 10-day break from Thursday Night Football against the Chiefs to get back into the swing of things. Seattle Seahawks coming into town. Super pumped about this game. I know Ford Field is going to be rocking. Entire Ford Field has been sold out. They were selling standing room only tickets just a couple days ago. I'm sure those have quickly gone as well. So super excited for that first home opener. I'm super ecstatic that it's against the Seattle Seahawks because I absolutely hate the Seahawks. I feel like they've been our nemesis for the past couple of years. Between last year's thriller, where I don't think any team punted and ended up 48-45 at the end, Seahawks knocking us out of the playoffs against that win against the Rams, even though we went into Green Bay and won in Lambeau, and also the Seattle Seahawks picking number 5th overall and taking Devin Witherspoon from us, which Albert Breer came out with an article stating that the Lions were most likely going to take Devin Witherspoon. So this team just continually gets in our way. It's continually a thorn in our side. And this is the week where we go in there and kick their ass. Super pumped. I really hate this team. I feel like every time we make a step forward, they're right there, lock in step with us, cutting us off. Like I mentioned, the Devin Witherspoon pick, knocking us out of the playoffs last year, beating us last year at Ford Field. This team, the Seattle Seahawks, are always in our way, it seems like last year. So hopefully this is the week that we get our revenge. I kind of want to dive in, talk about the Seahawks, the injuries that they have, the injuries that the Lions have, and who we're going to see play and who's going to come out on top. I'm really excited what we're going to see from both teams here. The Seattle Seahawks are dealing with injuries. The Lions have an injury of their own that's going to be pretty substantial, so it's going to be kind of an impactful game for us. How we're going to overcome that injury to Taylor Decker, who is ruled out at this point with his ankle that he injured last week against Kansas City. How are the Lions going to shift that line? How are they going to respond to that? Because they have a couple different options, right? That line is pretty versatile. Are we going to move Vaitai to a tackle position, move Sewell over to left tackle, bring in Graham Glasgow? Are we just going to elevate Matt Nelson to that left tackle position? So I'm kind of curious once we see that first offensive drive what their theory is and what they have in place, because I feel like there's a couple different routes and methods that they could take with this offensive line setup. Thankfully, there's flexibility on the line to shift people around. So let's say that you do put in Matt Nelson. He's not working out after a couple of drives, getting up pressures, give up a sack or two. You have the ability to move people around to adjust that. That 6th offensive line position with Graham Glasgow, super thankful that he's on this team. He's just added depth to give us the flexibility to move pieces around when injuries happen. So I think they roll out Matt Nelson to start the game, but I don't think they're going to be locked in that. I think depending on how he performs is going to dictate how they take on the game and how they want to present that offensive line. On the Seahawks side of the ball, they're out. They're starting left and right tackle. I believe one was put on injured reserve for 4 weeks, and the other one's kind of week to week with a turf toe. So they actually signed Jason Peters off the semi-retired list. This guy's 41, I believe 41 years old. So he's up there in age. I think he should be done, sitting on the sidelines, enjoying retirement, waiting to collect his gold jacket in the Hall of Fame. But they did sign him as an insurance policy. I don't know if he's going to play or not because they did just sign him, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. So getting up to game speed, learning the playbook might take a little bit of time. He might be there as a reserve tackle if shit really does hit the fan for the Seahawks. So their offensive line is in shambles. Last week against the Rams, the Seattle Seahawks were pretty decent in the first half. I think they actually went into halftime with the lead 17-10 against the Rams. However, after the left tackle went down and after the right tackle went down in that first drive in the second half, they were done for. They were cooked. They were Seattle Sea Chickens at that point. They only had 12 yards of offense in the second half, 9 of which came on one of the last plays of the game. Geno Smith was under pressure the entire second half, and that kind of parlays into our defensive edges having a huge week. Between Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris, James Houston, all of those guys should have a lot of pressures this week, and I'm sure they'll get home on a few of those pass rushes. So it kind of makes me wonder what the Seattle Seahawks game plan is going to be. They're very talented at wide receiver, and if Jackson Smith-Njigba, their first pick this year actually performs as their third wide receiver, they might have one of the most talented wide receiver rooms between Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Smith-Njigba. So it's super talented wideouts, so they might be very quick with quick crossing routes, quick slants, wide receiver bubble screens. Get the ball in the playmaker's hands right away and let them do work in the open field. Not to mention they do have Kenneth Walker, who, as a Michigan fan, I don't really care for. Personal biases aside, he is a very talented running back, so I expect them to try to feed him the rock as well to control the game. What the Seahawks are going to avoid is the Detroit Lions pass rush at all costs. They're going to want to avoid our defensive ends pitting their ear back and getting after the quarterback. So which kind of turns into the Lions getting off to the fastest as possible start as they can. That way they can capitalize on that pass rush. If the Lions take a slow, methodical approach to this game, it might bite them in the ass a little bit. I want to see them get out to a fast start, get to a quick 7 to 14 point lead, and make the Seahawks throw the ball. If you force them into a passing game, that's when our defense can pin its ears back, get after the quarterback, sit back in zone coverage, and pick this ball off and create a difference. The Lions really have the opportunity this week to go against the Seahawks and control the game defensively because their offensive line is in shambles. The Seattle Seahawks interior line was always kind of, not the greatest, but now that they lose those two pillars on the outside, their left and right tackle, it's all the more reason for us to go out there and get after the ball. So I expect our defense to have a great day, but they have to play contain on the outside. They have to contain these wide receivers, make sure that they're not getting into open space, and making sure that Geno Smith doesn't have the time to complete passes as he sees fit. Don't sleep on the Seattle Seahawks defense either. They have a lot of playmakers. Between Devin Witherspoon, who's getting his first start of the year after missing a lot of training camp and preseason and even that first game, he's being elevated up and he'll be playing his first game of the year. They obviously have Bobby Wagner, who had 18 tackles last week against the Rams. So he's that commander, he's that general for that defense. And then they also have Tariq Woolen as well on the outside. So they have some talent on defense, and not to mention Boy Mafe on the edge, who's a great run edge defender. Not so much in terms of getting after the passer, but he can really set the edge and contain the run. So I think defensively and offensively for us this week against the Seahawks, we want to take advantage of our skill sets with Gibbs, with Montgomery, go in there, score a couple quick touchdowns, get ahead, and then pound the rock. If we're able to control the game after we get a nice lead through the run game, this game will be over by the third quarter. I fully expect us to go in there and mop up the Seahawks. I just think that they're injured, they're reeling, they're down right now, and not to mention, we're home. That's that first home game. The crowd is going to be electric. They're excited, they're ready to go, especially after that massive win in Kansas City last week. The hype train is real this year. Our fans are ready. We're ready to cheer on a contender. We're ready to cheer on a winner. So the X factor in this game is going to be that Detroit Lions fans. Those fans in Ford Field, make it loud, make it rambunctious, wear those ski masks, show out, and then we'll be able to come out with a win on Sunday. Make sure to leave a comment down below. I want to know everyone's thoughts and theories for what's going to happen in this game. Leave a prediction on the score as well. I greatly appreciate it. Love talking with everyone. I think everyone has a good and valid opinion on how the Lions are going to play out this year. It's been actually kind of fun to go back and read the comments and see the varying viewpoints and the differences that everyone has. I don't think any opinion is wrong. We're not, fortune tellers. We can't predict the future. So go ahead, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you think this game is going to play out, especially if you think it's going to be a blowout for the Lions. I think we end up winning 31-14 against the Seahawks. I think our offense and defense are going to be too much for the Seahawks, especially with their injuries. I think our defense has a huge day. I'm expecting about 10 to 15 pressures on defense. I expect our defensive ends to really take advantage of those offensive tackles and get after the quarterback. So I'd be happy with 10 to 15 pressures, maybe 3 to 4 sacks. I think that would make a difference. Rattle Geno early, get ahead of it, and control the game from there.